Have you ever been on a long flight and wondered what the pilot is actually doing up there while the autopilot is on? You might picture them just relaxing, maybe reading a book. But the reality, well, it's way more complex. And sometimes it involves a simple roll of tape. Okay, let's dive into this fascinating world where high-tech automation and good old-fashioned human ingenuity meet.
So check this out. This was the exact situation facing pilot Matt Guthmiller on a flight across Alaska. His autopilot, a really crucial tool for a long trip like that, was on the fritz. Now, this isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a huge deal for workload and for safety. It really sets the stage for a real-world test of a pilot's most important skill, thinking on your feet.
So, I want you to put yourself in the cockpit for a second. Imagine it. Flying a plane manually with precision for hours on end is absolutely exhausting. The one system that's designed to help you is failing. So what's your move? Do you turn back? Do you just try to tough it out? What do you do?
Well, the specific way it was broken was the real kicker. See, the autopilot could work, but only if he physically held the little engagement switch up. He figured out, hey, if I hold this button up, it's gonna fly. But come on, holding a button for a 3-hour flight? That's obviously not gonna happen.
And this is where it gets brilliant. And it perfectly shows why the pilot is the ultimate backup. The solution wasn't in some complicated maintenance manual. Nope, it was a simple, creative fix using a piece of tape to hold the switch in place. It's just a perfect, low-tech solution to a very high-tech problem, all happening thousands of feet up in the air. That little piece of tape was actually keeping a key crew member on the job, George. So who is George? Well, let's meet the most common and maybe the most reliable co-pilot in the sky. Pilots have this great nickname for their autopilot system. They often just call it George. And it's important to know George is not a substitute for the pilot. It's a tool, a really powerful one. Its main job is to handle the boring stuff, maintaining the heading and altitude, which frees up the pilot's brain power for more important things. It reduces fatigue, and that makes everyone safer. So you have this amazing contrast, right? On one hand, you've got the reality of Matt Guthmiller's taped-up switch. A bit clunky, but it worked. And on the other hand, you have the incredible ideal of modern systems, like Garmin's autonomy technology, which can literally land the plane all by itself in an emergency. This whole spectrum just shows you how varied and vital these systems are. And here's the crucial point. George isn't just about convenience. As aviation writer Mac McCullen puts it, a modern autopilot can hold an altitude or fly an approach with a level of precision that is, frankly, superhuman. It doesn't have to scan instruments one by one like a person does. It monitors everything, all at once, all the time.
So this leads to a really common misunderstanding. If the autopilot is so amazing, what is the pilot even doing up there? The answer is they are absolutely still flying the plane, just not with their hands. Let's take a look at what that actually means.
The entire philosophy of managing automation boils down to this one phrase: trust but verify. The pilot trusts the system to do its job, to fly straight and level. But, and this is the important part, they are constantly verifying that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing and what it's going to do next. Complacency is the #1 enemy. And this verifying isn't just some vague glance at the instruments. Not at all. Pilots use these systematic checks like FREDA, which they'll run every 15 to 20 minutes. It stands for fuel, radios, engine, direction, and altitude. It's this constant, disciplined loop of monitoring that keeps them totally plugged into what's happening with the flight.
And it goes way, way beyond just checking the systems. Think about it. The autopilot has no eyes. It can't see other airplanes. It can't look at the weather radar and decide to plan a detour around a big thunderstorm. The pilot is handling all the communications, monitoring traffic, and strategically planning every next phase of the flight. There's this quote from a pilot that just sums it up perfectly. The physical job of yanking and banking on the controls gets replaced by this intense mental job of managing systems, strategic planning, and keeping total situational awareness. The workload hasn't disappeared, it's just shifted. But here's the twist. All this incredible capability, it creates a really fascinating and critical challenge, something experts call the automation paradox. It's a double-edged sword that every single pilot and every aviation engineer has to deal with.
Okay, so let's break this down because it's a huge deal. The better and more reliable George gets, the less the human pilot actually needs to hand fly the plane. And over time, those manual flying skills, they can get a little rusty. This creates this incredibly dangerous situation where the pilot is least prepared for the exact moment they are needed the most, when that ultra-reliable system suddenly fails.
This table really lays it all out. The autopilot is a rock star at precision, consistency, and doing the same thing over and over without getting tired. The human, on the other hand, excels at creativity, judgment, and adapting to brand new situations. Like, I don't know, figuring out you can use tape to fix a broken switch. They're two totally different skill sets, and you need both in the cockpit.
And if this whole problem sounds familiar, it definitely should. As Mac McClellan points out, we are watching these exact same questions and concerns play out right now with self-driving cars. How do you keep the driver engaged and ready to take over in a split second when the car is doing a fantastic job of driving itself 99.9% of the time? It's the same paradox.
So, how does the aviation world deal with this? How do you get all the benefits of automation without falling into the trap of the paradox? Well, the answer lies in one of the most fundamental principles of flying. The biggest takeaway here is that the pilot's job hasn't gotten easier, it's just become way more complex. It's evolved from mostly a physical skill to a cognitive one. They aren't just operators anymore, they are high-level managers of incredibly complex systems, and they are the final authority on every single decision. No matter how smart the system gets, it's always just a tool. The regulations, the training, the entire philosophy of aviation is built around one single fact. A human pilot is the pilot in command. They are responsible for everything, and they must always be ready to click that autopilot off and fly the plane themselves. And that brings us right back to that roll of tape in the cockpit over Alaska. That story, it isn't really about a faulty switch. It's the perfect demonstration of why the human is still the most important part of the whole system. The technology failed, and the human adapted. That is the ultimate safety net. So this leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. As our technology gets closer and closer to being perfect, what's the real value of us, the imperfect humans at the controls? Maybe, just maybe, it's our very imperfection, our ability to be creative, to adapt, to MacGyver a solution with a roll of tape that makes us truly indispensable.